whoa, okay. What? Who the fuck put that intro in? We have talked about this, guys. It's the wrong intro. Put the real one in now.
Peter was a normal child, or tween. He was 14 years old, and he was in a so-called friends group. He had 5 friends he hanged out with. They were Tommy, Parker, Jannet, Chester, and his big crush Allison. They were kids that never really got to have a real childhood. They grew up with parents who didn't like childish games. But Peter and his friends grew up and got more alone time and started to have fun for the first time. This particular day, Peter and his friends were visiting an abandoned city. They usually hanged out there. That's when Peter came up with the idea.
Hey, I know we should play. Tag? Hide and seek? Something like that?
What? You want to play child games?
Well, I have some rules we could set so it would be cooler.
Sure. We have nothing else to do anyways.
Yeah, sure. What's the rules?
Oh, the 3 people seeking and 2 people hiding gets to ask the person they find 3 questions. It could be anything.
Well, I'm on.
Peter ended up seeking together with Parker and Jannet. Peter thought he knew the place Allison would hide at. It was an older, more darker house down the street. She had earlier told him that she was interested in the house, and they began searching. Peter came up with his childish idea to hopefully find Allison, so he would be able to ask her the 3 questions. As he headed for the house, Jannet went another way to search. She went up behind a house and saw Chester sitting down behind a bush, clearly so freaking bad at hiding.
That's the best place you could find to hide, dumbhead.
What? Seriously? This fast? Okay. Ask your stupid questions.
All right, let's see. First question. What's your biggest fear, Chester?
Really? You're gonna ask me something like that? Fine, I guess. Drowning? I've always been freaked out by deep water.
Interesting. All right, second question. Have you ever had a crush on anyone in the group?
Seriously? You're gonna put me on the spot like that? Fine. I used to like Allison, but that was a long time ago. I'm over it now.
Good to know. Last question. If you could change one thing about your life, what would it be?
I wish my parents were around more. They're always working. It gets lonely, you know?
Yeah, I get that. Thanks for being honest, Chester.
At the same time, Peter walked alone towards the old house. He reached it and he felt chills go down his spine. Something felt off about the place, but he walked in, hoping to find Allison sitting there so he would be able to ask some nasty and romantic questions. He went into all the rooms searching for any sign of Allison. He stumbled into the living room. It was completely dark, except the window. It gave out a slight blue shining, and he saw it. A girl sat in the corner, seemingly hiding. His heart began to beat faster when he understood that it was Allison, and he jumped up.
Aha! Gotcha! Now I get to ask my 3 questions.
She seemed startled at first, but then she calmed down. Peter could slightly make out her silhouette, but he knew it was her.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. But I get to ask the questions now.
Okay, go on.
At the same time, Chester and Jannet were out looking for Parker, Peter, and Allison, not knowing where they went. As Jannet and Chester wandered through the desolate streets, the sun began to set, casting elongated shadows across the crumbling buildings. The eerie silence of the abandoned city was interrupted only by the crunching of gravel beneath their feet and the distant hoot of an owl awakening for the night.
This place gives me the creeps. Why did Peter have to choose this rundown city for our games?
Because it's the only place where we can actually feel like kids again, Chester. Plus, it's kind of thrilling, don't you think?
If you say so. Let's find the others quickly. I don't want to be here after dark.
Back at the old house, Peter cleared his throat, trying to steady his nerves. The atmosphere inside was thick and heavy, and a strange, musty odor filled the air. He focused his attention back on Allison, who remained motionless in the corner.
Okay, first question.
Peter's heart began to beat faster and faster, and then he finally managed to utter his words. But it took courage.
Have you ever had sex before?
No.
Peter really wanted to utter the next question, which would be, do you want to have sex? But he felt too awkward to ask. And really, who would like to do their affair in an old abandoned house? Peter felt dumbfounded.
I'm sorry, Allison. I don't know.
He heard how Allison's breath was very deep, almost sexually deep. His heart felt like it would drop through the earth when Allison started to crawl towards him. He didn't really see her. He just heard her breaths coming closer to him. And he also heard how she almost had trouble crawling towards him. As Chester and Jannet wandered through the dense, shadowy forest, their voices echoed softly, mingling with the rustling leaves. They stumbled upon Parker, who was nervously crouched behind a large, gnarled tree.
Look what we got here. Parker, found you.
Oh man, you guys are fast. I thought I was hitting pretty well.
Not well enough. All right, you know the rules. Ask your questions, Jannet.
Okay. First question. If you could be any mythical creature, what would you be?
I'd be... a dragon. You know, for the power and all that.
Typical. What's your second question, Jannet?
What's the scariest thing you've ever experienced?
Yeah. I guess the time I thought I saw a ghost in my house when I was younger. Probably just my imagination, though.
That's it? I thought you'd have something more interesting.
All right. Last question. If you could change one thing about our group of friends, what would it be?
I don't know. I guess I'd want us to be more adventurous. We're always doing the same things over and over.
All right. Anyways, we should head back and look for Peter and Allison and tell them that we found everyone.
So they began searching for Peter and Allison. While they did, Peter seemed nervous. As Allison stopped just centimeters away from his face, he started to blush, and he wanted to do the first move. He grabbed Allison's hands, and she seemed to get frightened for a second. Before she calmed down, Peter started to lean in for a kiss when Jannet stormed into the room.
Ah, so this is where you went. If you two wanted some private time, you should have just told us already instead of letting us play your stupid game. I already found Chester and Parker.
Huh? What do you mean?
Huh? Well, Chester hid behind a bush behind a house. I saw him clearly, and Parker was just sitting behind a bush as well in the forest.
Hey, wasn't that bad of a hiding place?
Chester said, as he walked into the room as well, with Parker right behind.
Okay, I'll admit it. Me and Chester suck at hiding, okay?
Okay.
Wait. You mean that Parker and Chester were the ones hiding?
Yeah.
Peter started to get uncomfortable. Why would Allison sit in the corner of this creepy old dark house alone if she wasn't the one hiding? Suddenly, Allison peeked into the room as well. That's when Peter's heart stopped.
Wait. How? Allison?
Peter quickly backed away from the girl he had just been holding hands with, and he asked the second question.
Wait, do I know you?
No.
Peter grabbed a match from his pocket. As Peter struggled to steady his breathing, he finally managed to light a match, casting a flickering glow across the room. The light revealed something far worse than he had ever imagined. The creature crouched in the corner was no longer human. Its skin, a sticky, malted gray, seemed to slough off in patches, revealing raw, inflamed tissue underneath. Its face was a grotesque mask of shifting features, eyes sunken deep into their sockets with pupils that darted out frantically as if trying to escape their own glaze. Its mouth was the most horrifying of all. It was a gaping maw stretched impossibly wide, with a perpetual blood-curdling grin that seemed to crawl and twist with every flicker of the match. Jagged yellow teeth jutted out from a dark, gaping hole where the lips should have been, and its breath was a foul, fetid mist that filled the air with the stench of decay. The creature's limbs were unnaturally long and thin, with fingers ending in elongated, brittle nails that clacked ominously against the floor as it moved. Its movements were jerky and unsettling, as if each limb were struggling to obey its own commands. The creature's hair, matted and tangled, clung to its scalp in clumps, with strands falling out as it moved, leaving a trail of dark, sticky clumps behind it. As Peter's heart raced, the creature's eyes locked into his with a chilling, malevolent intensity. It emitted a low, guttural moan that resonated with an unsettling harmony, the sound of echoing through the empty room like a mournful wail from the depths of the abyss. The air around it seemed to grow colder, the shadows in the room lengthened and contorting as if trying to escape its presence. The creature's skin, where it wasn't peeling away, had a molted texture, resembling rotting flesh more than anything human. Its entire being radiated a sense of perverse wrongness, as if it were an abomination spawned from the darkest corners of human fear. Peter's hand trembled as he dropped the match, plunging the room back into darkness, but the image of the creature's horrific visage was burned into his mind forever. The darkness now felt alive with malevolent intent, and the creature's presence lingering like a suffocating fog. Jannet screamed at the sight, and the five friends ran out of the house as quick as they could. Peter smacked his head on a metal pipe on the way. But it didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was to get out of this town, as far away as possible from that thing. They stopped when they arrived at Peter's house. They stormed inside, his parents not home, so they quickly locked all the doors and began their fearful discussion. Weirdly enough, they all seemed to have different memories of how that thing looked. Everyone's description was not alike. As the group gathered in Peter's living room, each one of them recounted their version of the horrific encounter in the old house. The descriptions grew more fragmented and unsettling, adding layers of confusion and dread to the already tense atmosphere.
What are you all talking about? It was clearly an old woman with a knife, ready to attack.
No, it didn't just look like that. Its face was melting, the eyes were hollow. And it had these long, dark fingers that looked like they could reach out and grab you from anywhere.
That's not what I saw. It was more like a shadow, a figure wrapped in tattered rags. I couldn't see the face clearly, just this looming presence.
I swear it was covered in blood, but the face was just a mask. Like something you'd see in a horror movie, only real.
Whatever it wasn't just the thing in the house. It followed us here, didn't it?
What are you talking about? I didn't understand a word of what you said.
They gave up their discussion and decided to sleep over at Peter's house, and the next day was the last day they'd see each other for 10 years. During these 10 years, Peter and Allison never got together. Peter was scared to think about that night and didn't want to be with Allison because of that. And Allison didn't like him in that way. But Peter ended up getting a wife, and one day, just by coincidence, met each other at their city. They greeted each other and decided to take a quick meal together. Everyone was there, everyone except Allison, and they begun their first conversation in over 10 years.
It's strange, isn't it? We all saw different things that night. Still can't get over it. keep wondering if what we saw was some sort of collective hallucination or something.
I've thought about that too, but the detail I remember, the woman's smile, that sinister, almost inhumane grin, it was so real, so visceral. How could we all see something so different?
I don't know. Maybe it was something about the place. The house was old and rotting. Maybe it was feeding off our fears or projecting something from our own minds.
What about the fact that none of us ever saw Allison again after that night? It's like she just disappeared. I thought she might have left town or something, but what if she was part of it?
They had a fun chat and kept on talking about the event they were a part of. When they needed to go, they exchanged phone numbers so they'd be able to keep in contact from that point. 20 years passed by. Peter had made a family. He moved to Sweden and had 3 wonderful kids and a loving wife. He went down the basement stairs one day just to put a pack of sodas there when he heard it. The deep, almost sexual breaths that he had heard in that room those years ago. The thing he had seen. His heart froze in place when he heard the voice again.
You still have one question to ask me.
Peter lost all his hope and gathered all his courage to ask the last question.
Am I ever going to leave this cellar?
No.
Baby snack time, shout down to her. But in your head she's a quarter. No boundary boredom, no boundary boredom. I contented your drinking eyes never open. I insist somebody will die and I hate hoping. Wishing that the pills let you cry and I hate coping. Someday I will go back outside and see her okay. I contented your drinking eyes never open. I insist somebody will die and I hate hoping. Wishing that the pills let you cry and I hate hoping. Someday I will go back outside.